we gained some momentum quickly. Then COVID hit and we lost them. And we see the growth coming from our commercial division. We're really excited and passionate about that right now. We also put a fair amount of effort on business alliances, forming relationships with other businesses who see the market, see the world as we see it over time. And as you evolve and mature as an organization, you understand that it needs to be like sniper, not buckshot, right?
It's funny because I actually think it's a problem with the industry where we just don't expect that from sales reps. You're going to get a lot of like small stuff coming off, but the ones where you get the best return are through relationship.
Welcome to Price, Sell, Paint, the go-to podcast for painting contractors and sales professionals in the painting industry. Hosted by industry experts Jon Bryant and Michael Murray. This podcast is proudly powered by PaintScout, your partner in painting success.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Price, Sell, Paint podcast. Today, Jon and I are joined by Chris Elliott. Chris is, I would say, an industry titan at this point. He is very involved in the PCA. He's on the board. He has a very successful residential and commercial painting company in Indianapolis. And I would say first and foremost, Chris, thank you for your service. I read in your bio, Army Ranger, so I appreciate all that you did for our country and really excited to chat with you today. So tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe a little bit about your background, how you got started in this crazy industry.
Oh man, you just did a far better intro than I could ever do. So
try to keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, no, that was really, really great. Yeah, as you mentioned, went in the military after high school. I actually signed up 2 months before 9/11. So things got interesting really, really quickly. But after the military, I went into the fitness industry, which eventually brought me to Indianapolis, exited that and went to the corporate world for a bit. Somehow landed in the painting industry, actually through coaching youth football. And then
as one does, very common.
Yes. Normal path. I worked with a national commercial painting contractor for about 3 years and then exited and launched our company and got rocketed in residential repaints. Did that until about 2020 and started transitioning to commercial. So
it's awesome.
Yeah, which is awesome. I mean, we want to talk to you a little bit about that. Just a pretty common question, interest area for most people these days. So should we talk about that now or should we get more background here, Mike?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Yeah. So how many years have you guys been doing this now?
So we will be at a decade in April. So we're
decade. Awesome.
Yeah. 9 years, 9 months, 9 years, almost 8 months.
And you're growing with a pretty sizable company from what I understand. And part of that was that journey, I'm guessing, started residentially.
It did.
And then moved to commercial. Is that right? Maybe fill people in on the story just so we can get kind of a...
Yeah. So I had never done anything residential, no exposure to it at all. But as I exited the organization I was a part of, it was a very clean, good exit. And I just wanted to respect that relationship. And so instead of focusing on commercial, focused on residential. And it was also, I knew, get far more reps and be able to build our team, build out our processes. I felt it was a little bit better path to the transactional nature of residential. Like I said, you just get a lot more reps. We can also build relationships and partnerships, banking relationships, access to capital, all that. So we focused on growing and scaling the residential division very quickly. We got it up to where it's at now, probably by year 2, and just stabilized, started working on marginal improvements. By 2020, we felt like we were ready and kind of created some distance from the company that I was a part of, where we felt like we could start our commercial division and do it in a way that we felt great about. And so we sold a bunch of contracts. We gained some momentum quickly. Then COVID hit and we lost them. And then luckily they all ended up coming back through. And yeah, we've been keeping residential stable and like I said, working on profitability and growing our organic traffic and getting our our customers excited about working with us again and referring us to friends. And then on the commercial side, we're establishing relationships, nurturing those relationships, finding out what market vertical we're the absolute best fit for. So we've been on that journey and we feel like we're in a really, really good space with that. So we're going to continue to lean in and grow and scale. As we look into the future for our organization, we see the growth coming from our commercial division. We're really excited and passionate about that right now.
That's Chris. I'd love to just keep talking a little bit more about that. So, maybe what are some of the differences that you see, because you currently are doing both. I know you guys have a pretty full sales teams. You've got different people kind of focused on different parts. But what are the differences in terms of marketing and selling specifically, not necessarily on the producing side, marketing and selling for, commercial versus residential? What are some of those differences?
Yeah, great question. And they're quite different. And as an organization, we really do run them as separate divisions. So different people, different processes, different approaches. It makes my strategy planning really interesting every year. So, because I have to plan for the company, and then we have to plan for each division. And from the marketing approach, for the way that we look at residential is really, we want to focus on three areas. So we're looking for brand oriented marketing efforts. So like helping with our brand awareness. We want to make sure that we're getting some direct response marketing in there. And then also that we are engaging our warmest audience, people who have worked with us and loved us and want to either come back and do repeat business with us or refer us to their friends and family members. And then we everything we do is repaint, residential and commercial. So we're obviously, with those efforts, we're focusing on homeowners. And over the last 10 years, we've gotten very, very good at knowing exactly who our target audience is, what those buying personas are. And we're geographically, like, we cover a 30-mile radius of Indianapolis, but 75% of what we do comes from like the northern suburbs. And some of that's intentional, some of it's incidental. It just happened that way. And then we also work on realtor relationships. Obviously, that's more business development, relationship development, but then very little cost. But then those relationships can, grow and you get a lot more repeat business. We also put a fair amount of effort on business alliances, forming relationships with other businesses who kind of see the market, see the world as we see it, share a value system, and have a similar customer so that we can kind of refer and feel great about it. I think just like anyone else, like, you always kind of cringe a little bit when you share a referral, and because that becomes a representation or an extension of you. So those are three. So homeowners, realtors, and business alliances are our focus. When we're focused on our actual marketing spend, it's, like I said, brand awareness, it's direct response, and it's organic engagement. And then on the commercial side, we used to not spend any marketing. There was no marketing spend at all. It was all business development, prospecting. So we would identify a target audience. And so let's just say that's managed commercial properties. So property management companies with commercial assets. And we would establish a focus, a top 12 or a top 15 or a top 25 list, whatever you want it to be. And we get, start building those relationships, getting very, very focused. So we have just learned over time, whether it's residential or commercial, I think like everybody, when you start, you're willing to do everything for anybody, no matter where they're at. And over time, and as you evolve and mature as an organization, you understand that it needs to be like sniper, not buckshot, right? So it's like, who exactly is our residential target, and who exactly is our commercial target? And I feel like we, every year, every month, have started to understand that better. So
that's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of, like you mentioned a little bit of business development? Do you have that expectation from your sales reps on the residential and commercial side?
Great
question. Leads that
great
come
question.
in? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. So we have it on the residential side. It's been, the appointments have always been driven by our marketing effort, and any business development effort was either done by me or leadership oriented roles. As we go into this year, we've actually reestablished roles, responsibility, deliverables, expectations. And so we are going to ask that our residential reps get more involved. We've joked in the past that those dogs don't hunt, right? So,
let me know how that goes.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have incredible high expectations, but we want to try it. So, what we
is that how you're going to present it at the meeting, Chris?
Exactly.
I don't have high expectations of you, but give it a shot.
Yes, that's what typically works best. I think it's important enough for us to try. So it's really, really funny topic, because we internally say like our best sales reps residentially have really been kind of more operations guys and gals with a great personality. So it's somebody who is very friendly, can build that rapport and trust with the client, but has enough attention to detail that they can put together a great proposal and do a great takeoff. We have not found that personality profile is exceptionally great prospecting and business development. They either don't have the interest or they don't have that skill set. But again, I think being active in networking groups like BNI, getting active with realtors and different associations is important. And when we evaluate our capacity at a high level, we feel like the capacity is there. We just got to find the right people to do it. So, but I will let you know how it goes.
Please. It's funny because I actually think it's like a problem with the industry where we just don't expect that from sales reps. If you go to any other industry, I mean, we require it from our team, and it's been really proven to be very successful.
Yeah.
So, you have to have a certain amount of activity per week. We track what activity that is. It has to be productive for networking. And if you just don't do that, you're not going to get the big, juicy leads that you need. You're going to get a lot of small stuff coming off leads, but the ones where you get the best return are through relationship. I think
I strongly agree. And I think the piece in there that makes it, I think that maybe makes the industry believe for residential is that estimating piece, right? Because most sales positions don't have that layered in. That one does, which requires a little bit different personality profile than a typical sales rep who loves to go in a room and gains energy from the people in that room. The residential sales estimators that we've had they don't necessarily gain energy from a group. They gain they do from that individual interaction multiple times a day through our customers. But then on the other side of the business is a total different personality profile. It typically is more of a hunter type and someone who does get excited about being a part of, trade associations and networking groups and can go out and make relationships and really see the value, especially the long-term value of establishing a network and building relationships and nurturing them through time. So,
Chris, it's interesting you say that it's different people. So I'm fascinated by that because I think too often I've thought it's the same person, but you've found that it's actually a very different personality, residential, commercial, for prospecting. And
it's my belief and it's my experience, but I'm challenging it this year. So I think we should follow up in 6 months.
Done.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with you, Chris. I think it does take that, that hunter versus that farmer kind of, analogy. I think it's hard to find, somebody whose skill sets are both. And I think what I would imagine if and when you find that person, and I'd love to hear your thoughts here, is if you find that person and they're really good at that hunting and you have them in the residential side, is it only a matter of time until you move them to the commercial side where there's those bigger opportunities and things like that? What are your thoughts on something like that?
No, that's a great point. Originally, our idea with residential was that it would be, I grew up playing football and wrestling, and with a lot of great wrestling programs, it's a feeder system. It starts with the elementary, and the elementaries are teaching the takedowns and escapes that the middle school's teaching and that the high school's teaching. So it kind of flows through. And we anticipated that being our residential division. Our residential division would be the entry into the business. You get a lot of reps, a lot of at-bats, and then you would transition. That was the thought. It's not been the reality. Mm-hmm. So the reality is we've had to go out and actually look for a different person. Now with project management, we actually have seen that they going out, running residential jobs, getting a lot of experience through managing, 300 to 500 jobs in a year really helps prepare them to take on, bigger and larger jobs. So I think that the other piece with that residential role is typically if you're going to say you want a rep doing $1.5 million a year, there's a volume of appointments that they have to do. And one of you mentioned conversion rates. So the one thing I love about residential is I think both sides, it's math, right? Eventually you can distill it down to math. I know on the commercial side, if I do this much prospecting, at this point in my skill level right now, I will get, if I knock 100 doors, I'm going to get 5 opportunities to talk to somebody, whatever. And you can take that all the way down to, to a sale. But for residential, we have found that it is literally we put this amount of money in the marketing machine and it's going to spit out this many leads, and this many leads at an 85% conversion rate generates this many appointments. At this many appointments at a 50% success rate generates this many sales. This many sales at $5,000 average job size is this much revenue. And then you can figure out from there, you can figure out like how much gross margin, here's my cost, what should be my price based on like my current level of overhead and whatever. So I love the predictability on the residential side because I can literally come in and say, I want to do 3.5 million. I'm going to spend 7% projected revenue in my marketing spend. That's going to give me this many leads. And I can just express it based on my conversion rates from there. And I can almost forecast the year down to the dollar. Commercial has been a little bit less predictable, but we are really working on that because, as I mentioned, I think at the end of the day, it's just math.
Quick question. So the metrics, Chris, that you're talking about, like for residential, I mean, those are dialed in. You said it's not for commercial. Where do you think it should land? Like, do you have a sense of that?
We take qualified leads to appointments and that conversion rate, and we're trying to close that gap. So we're actually seeing similar when we're talking about leads. We've seen similar conversion rates, but I found like a more important metric, if you will, to follow is pipeline. So we're focused on like, hey, if we put $10 million in the pipeline, because the difference is like with residential, it's a very, very predictable average job size. Commercial is not. We're doing anywhere between $1,000 and $1 million jobs. And so the 3 opportunities can skew the numbers quite a bit as far as like average. So we look at how much we're putting in the pipeline and then what that pipeline conversion is, which I think is the biggest difference between the two.
What do you think is a good number to shoot for?
What conversion are you asking for specifically?
Like pipeline conversion, like if you got 10 million in there.
Yeah, so we're seeing somewhere between 30 and 45%. And so again, everything we do is repaint. And then our primary focus is property management through multifamily or managed commercial. But then we find ourselves in so I had mentioned earlier, we mainly only do business development and prospecting, but we have started to layer in more marketing efforts on the commercial side, which doesn't translate to the same, like pay-per-click is almost irrelevant on commercial. We just have not seen any movement there at all, but we have seen some success with like cold outreach efforts. So we are spending marketing dollars now, and it really, again, it hasn't really shooken out to skew our conversion rates too much. So again, if we wanted to sell 3.5 on commercial, we would look to put 10 million in the pipeline.
Gotcha.
Feels like one of the big differences is just like the sales cycle. I mean, your residential stuff is going to flow through that pipeline pretty quickly, a few weeks, whatever. Where your commercial stuff, we don't really do a lot of commercial. John, you definitely do more than we do. It sounds like Chris might do the most on this call. And it's like, but to that point, I mean, am I accurate here that like some of the metrics there are a little bit different because you might be working on a deal for 6 months, a year, whatever, until you can actually close it. Am I following that right?
Very, very accurate. Yeah. So a lot of the big work we did, like, so let's say jobs that were over 250,000 this past year, we've actually started working on those 2 years ago. Right. And so, or, there was distance. So like what we typically see, and again, I think this is very vertical focused. So with these property management companies, typically they have some period of the year where they start capturing quotes to be able to establish a budget for the upcoming year. And then when they get to that year, the budgets get cut and they allocate how they feel like they need to best protect the asset. And so a lot of times what happens is like, hey, I need this quote, right? I need it by October. We're about to, we're going to turn in for our budgets. And then March hits. And even though they had submitted for that $400K to go to painting, it just couldn't happen that year. And so then it pushes to the next year. So the way that we have found to best to handle that is being very intentional with our pipeline. So we actually measure different temperatures of the pipeline. So like, what's our hot pipeline? What's our warm? What's our 2025 or 2026 budget year pipeline? And what's our cold? And then we figure out we obviously have like effort from our team, but then we've also created automation that's relevant for each stage of the pipeline. So if it's warm, what can we automate? What touches can we automate in that warm stage? Which is obviously going to be a bit different than like the cadence and how we engage the cold pipeline. So
that makes sense. I just want to touch on something. A question that came up in my mind is, you mentioned, it sounds like you've got, you have those residential numbers dialed in. You kind of walked through that, and it's really just a marketing machine. You put some money in, you kind of have a predictable outcome. why did you not just keep scaling that? What was the thought behind, let's kind of keep that going steady, it sounds like, but merely put that focus on the commercial?
Yeah, great question. So the front end is kind of that sales marketing effort, and it becomes very, very predictable. The back end and the operations of it, team member wise, our operations is 3 times the size of our commercial operations for the same revenue. So it just takes a lot more, especially as like the way I see residential is over time, it can be like our CFO would kill me if I ever try to get rid of residential, which I've tried. No, it's become very predictable and it's become very profitable. And it's become very profitable because of what happens on the back end. We're very, very intentional with the delivery of our services, because that is in turn then lower our marketing costs over time, because we get more of that organic repeat and referral business. And so I think that just like any business, you have different stages and seasons of the business, and eventually you hit a maturity stage. And I think that for us, we chose that we wanted to get our residential division to a maturity stage and refine and make it like the best delivery of services and the best profitability and the best, people and processes that we can put in it at a certain revenue size. And that we continue to like lean into the growth on the commercial side, just because. So early in my career, I said I went into fitness. I'm fairly good at sales. And so like I started a personal training business. And so I was a technician. And so I went and I sold a bunch of clients. And then I realized I had to serve every one of those clients. And I only have so many hours in the day. Yeah. So I was very limited based on capacity. And residential is similar. You can keep scaling those operations to it. And I know there's some very, very, very large residential repaint companies, but they also, for us in Indianapolis, it's somewhere between a $4,000 and $5,000 average job size, where commercial is for a similar or less operations, and the job size can be north of $1 million. I saw the path for growth and scale more appealing with that. So not that residential isn't attractive. Like I said, we have a fractional CFO, and he absolutely loves our residential repaint division.
Yeah, cash flow's a lot better, I would imagine. You're not waiting.
It diversifies us. It creates great cash flow. So obviously, as you go into commercial, capital is a conversation that you have, or is something that you have to be very well aware of and have access to. We obviously have a line of credit to kind of help support that, but also residential, that cash flow coming in really helps expand our financial capacity to take on more commercial work.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I hear a lot of people who just strictly do commercial when it gets hard in commercial, or payment terms get extended. They're like, man, I just want to have some residential. And then people who are in residential are like, man, I just want the bigger job sizes. And so it sounds like you're kind of in a sweet spot there.
It's trying to be, but it does present its challenges, because it is like you just cannot run both divisions the same. They really are. We have found like it really is different people, different processes, different strategy, different marketing approaches, campaigns, and we want to be very, very good at both. And to do that, it requires a lot of intentionality. But I do think it has diversified the business well.
Chris, it seems like you know a thing or two about the painting industry. What if people have questions for you, man? How do they pick your brain?
Good question. Wasn't prepared for that. I will. Let's do this. I will share
Chris, this is a setup, by the way.
Yeah,
I think you know the answer.
Yeah.
It starts with ascend.
So they could. I have a second company where we help painting contractor business owners through peer advisory groups. So my role in the organization is to facilitate the meeting and obviously add value where I can. It's a very, very structured, kind of high velocity, very unique. I would say it's crossing between a peer advisory group and small group coaching. It's probably brought me more fulfillment than anything I've ever done. I'm really, really enjoying it. We launched it last year. It's a very, very special group. If someone wanted to land on the website and reach me, it'd be sendpeergroup.com. But if anybody really just genuinely had a question, I'm happy to share my email with On It, which is just my first initial and last name at onitpainting.com.
Yeah, cool, man.
C. Elliott at onitpainting.com.
That's correct.
Got it. It's awesome. So you're on the PCA board. I don't remember if I mentioned that in my intro, but if I haven't, that's obviously okay. That's a big part of, you giving back to the industry. I'd love to just hear about like what made you decide to do that, and kind of what's that experience been like?
You guys are asking great questions. It's very interesting. I have a very interesting, maybe it's interesting. I feel it's interesting history with PCA. So started the business, joined the PCA like a year in just to get like the brag badge to put on the website. So it's like just a sense of authority. Had no interest in participating, and then saw like an expo was marketed, signed up, went, and it wasn't a great experience. And part of it was me and who I went with, and we just like didn't overly engage. Made a couple connections. Oddly enough, they were like people in my market, and so made a couple friends. Didn't go to the next one, and then went to the 2020 Phoenix, Arizona Expo, and met and built relationships that are like some of like my best friends in the world now. It was really like, you hear life changing, and I'm not one to say that a lot, but it was quite an impactful time. And it was also about the time that we were a couple years in, and we were really starting to gain success in the industry. I was starting to build a team where I had a bit more capacity. And I just felt like I never saw myself ending up in the painting industry, but I did. And we've been lucky enough to find some success. And so I just felt like it was the right thing to do, to find a place to contribute. And that event was impactful enough where like it seemed very obvious to lean into the PCA. And so, I've been on the board for a couple years. I'll be the commercial chair, helping with the commercial event this year. And I have yet to find an organization or association that just does such a good job between members and vendors of just getting the right people. Like the vibe is just so good. And we all find ourselves in our markets where like you don't find people that necessarily want to network and share information and best practices. And my experiences, I found like almost anyone at the expo is just like ready to help and share. And so, it's been a great opportunity to be able to contribute to that mission, and just feel very privileged.
Cool.
So.
And you've got Nick Slavic bossing you around on the board.
He tries. No,
Nick's a great guy.
Oh, so great. Yeah. And he's doing a great job with the board. And then our new executive director, Jill, is just phenomenal. And Nick's done a great job building the board. We just had a couple of additional board members, and very, very excited for 2025.
Awesome.
Cool.
Any, I know you mentioned like the commercial event. Is there any like things that you can share? We're recording this here right at the beginning of January. It probably will come out February or March. So I think this will come out after the PCA Expo at the beginning of February, but all of us are going to be there. I know we're excited for that. But what other kind of things can we look forward to from the PCA and the commercial event, and talk to us a little bit about whatever you can.
Sure. So I think the PCA does a great job with events. I think they do a great job with education and obviously trying to find relevant resources. So I don't know what's been officially announced. I know that the aim is to announce every event that we're going to have this year at the expo. So I anticipate there being a residential event again, a Women in Paint, a PCA in Espanol, and then of course the commercial. So very, very excited about that. I was a part of the commercial committee last year, and lucky enough to attend that event, and it was incredible, absolutely incredible.
Did you ride a bull, Chris?
So I was there. So Jesse Ramos is actually a member in the Ascend peer group and a good friend, and it was a fun event, and I was very, very, very excited until I saw the first bull ride. And then I got very, very, very worried for my friend. So It was very intense. I've never seen a bull ride before, and I was very relieved when it was over. So
yeah. Like I got a couple of videos sent my way, and it was like, wow, this is actually happening. Like, what is the liability of this?
It was real bull riding. That's what we were thinking. It was like going to be like a grandpa bull, or like a small. Like they came out, and it was really bull riding. And so my wife, I wouldn't say I'm the most cautious of individuals, but my wife literally looked at me because Jesse wanted me to do it with him, and she was like, "If you do this, I'm flying home." And like she's never said anything like that to me before. It was very, very intimidating.
I have a new rule.
Not the bull.
I have a new rule for life that I just made up. If it intimidates the Army Ranger, I'm not doing it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that sounds pretty crazy.
Yeah, fair enough.
Wild.
So,
well, fantastic, man.
We may not have bull riding, but I'm sure we'll have something fun.
Yeah, for
Cannot
sure.
wait. I mean, it sounds like the first time you got excited about PCA also had a rodeo there too. I think.
Yeah.
We were there.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, if this comes out before the PCA Expo, great. But there is a fantastic event that Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore throws, and don't miss it, because the first time I went, I just totally didn't realize it was happening. And then everyone came back with cowboy hats. And I was like, where'd you guys go? Like, oh, there was a rodeo. And I was like, oh my goodness.
I think that was the best, in my opinion, the best Sherwin party for an expo that I've been to. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. So you missed out.
Cool. That was I think that was John, both of our first PCA Expo. John and I met at that 2020 Expo, Chris, that you were talking about. So you talked about some life-changing relationships. John and I are testament to the same. So that event was a paramount for our industry.
And what timing too, right? Like right before COVID happened, and to have those relationships to go to that period of adversity was very, very, very good timing. So, and I've heard that from so many people about that event. There must have been a little magic in there.
Yeah. So we got to go back to Phoenix, I think.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
So
cool.
Good stuff.
Well, Chris, maybe we'll wrap it up here.
Yeah.
Unless, Michael, you got anything else interesting? This has been great, and we would love to have you back on sometime, man. It's super fun for us to talk to people like yourself who just actually understand this. I mean, we're all in this together. It's fun to go through this journey with people that get it, and we appreciate you for that. So thank you very much for your time, your expertise, your knowledge, and hopefully for those listening, this has been helpful. As we always say, like and subscribe. We know a lot of you guys listen but don't subscribe, so now's the time to do it. And Chris, hey, thanks very much.
Thank you guys. Had a blast. Yeah.
Keep kicking butt, Chris. I'm excited. It sounds like you're a big thinker in our industry, and I think we need more people like you, and just kind of sharing ideas and things like that. So appreciate you giving back, and appreciate you being a part of what we're doing today.
It's very kind of you to say. Thank you. Appreciate what you guys
Thanks,
do.
This podcast is proudly powered by PaintScout, your partner in painting success.